Hi everyone, I am Tara and I would like to welcome you all back to my channel, Spirit Mother Teachings of Going Within. Before I get started, I'm going to read my description for my YouTube channel so that people get a better understanding of what my channel is about. Some people are new to the channel, just coming in to check it out, what have you. And some don't read the description. So I'm going to let you know what my channel is about once I find everything that I'm looking for. Okay. Today is going to be a very hard topic to talk about. This is why I'm going to read this to you. And like I said, you may get a better understanding of what the channel is about. Hi, everyone. I am Spirit Mother, and I am here to wake people up to see how we've been treating each other and our earth. I am a unique type of spirit guide. I am a psychic, a medium, a channeler, a telepath, and an empath. I also speak in sign light language, different languages, all of which can be very intense sometimes, and a lot of the time you actually do see that. On my channel, I talk about everyday life, the ignorance, greed, the hatred, etc. I do it to get people to look within themselves and how we have been acting in life towards ourselves and others, including animals. Some people may not like what I have to say, whereas others may totally understand. I'm not here to judge. I'm here to put it out there and enlighten people. That's not there. I added it. Sometimes I may come off not very spiritual. However, I asked you to look within and see what spirituality really means. It is the enlightenment, waking up to the truth, the good, bad, and the ugly stuff that we don't like to see about ourselves, about the world, and others. Sometimes we need a little tough love to be able to look within ourselves. I am the inner conscience, Spirit Mother. I've been channeling for almost a couple of years now, and I've been doing a lot of research, and I've been the research has been coming to me as I wake up. I'm enlightened, and I use a lot of my own experiences. And like I said, some may like the topic, some may not, and some may just want to turn me off, and that's okay. Like I said, I'm not here to judge. I've experienced the stuff myself that I talk about. And today, I'm talking about how it is a hard pill to swallow about child sexual abuse. I just felt yep. Okay. My body goes through things as I do this. I get others where I feel like I'm being attacked psychically in different ways. I get the things coming in quickly. If I get emotional, it's usually because I've connected with other people. This may be a very sensitive topic for others. And the reason I chose this topic is because of all the protests that are taking place in Canada right now with regards to something they want to put in the schools about teaching our children. Okay? And I'm here to enlighten people about it. It's perceive it how you wish. but I'm going to keep going. It's about seeing things for what it really is and not pointing fingers because we don't understand something or we don't know where others are coming from. As I said, it's likely going to get intense. And some of you may feel anger, aggression, disdain, what have you, and that is totally okay and it is totally understandable. It's just a matter of like hearing what I have to say, because I'm not going by just what I have to say or my experiences, because I'm going by statistics, my own experiences, experience of other people that I know that have confided in me, or even some I've witnessed as a child and didn't know how to do it, what to do, where it is most likely to happen, and who is most likely to do it. Okay. I'm feeling that this is a long overdue topic for some, and I totally understand where everybody is coming from. Okay. It's like I said, it's not an easy topic to talk about for anyone, because a lot of people, I have my coffee, a lot of people, and I have my water. A lot of people have gone through it and felt like they couldn't talk to someone. Some of us felt like we were dirty for it. Some of us felt like we couldn't tell someone. Some of us actually told people and we weren't believed. Some has actually been believed, but the predator, the person who did it, is brought back into the home. It's about reading signs of it, body language. And I know that sometimes people lie about it happening. For what reason? I don't know. Only they know. But it's not something that we should be lying about. Before I get started, I have my cards. Again, I like to read from them because it actually starts me off. And like I said, sometimes it has to do with what I'm bringing forward, and sometimes it's just kind of a message that someone out there needs to hear. Thank you. Okay. I don't know if this is going to pertain to what I'm talking about, or if it is a message for someone. We can have more than we've got because we can become more than we are. We can meaning if you let go of, like today, I did a post about today is a day of purging the material stuff, the mental stuff, and the emotional stuff. And that's what I was doing today. I got rid of a whole bunch of clothes. In doing so, it was kind of getting rid of parts of me that are no longer a part of me. I've let it go. And it's to help us grow. And like it said, become more than what we are, because we are not a label. We are not our mental illness. We are not our trauma. We are not, we're not the system. We're part of the system, but we're not the system. And people tell us that we can be like our parents. We're not our parents. Sometimes, yeah, we can be like our parents, but that's because we grew up around them. Okay. And then we don't want some aspects of our parents, and that's totally understandable, because sometimes it's like our kids don't want parts of us. So it's like, become more than you are. And I hope this helps to enlighten people. Okay. I'm going to start off with this will happen, because this is hard, and I'm feeling very lightheaded right now. And if someone is trying to shut me down, if you're trying to hurt me, you're only hurting yourself. But I know that this is hard to hear, whether you're the one that it happened to, or you're the one that done it. I have this. Darkness to light. Oh, you okay? Yeah. This is... It's bringing it out, because some of this is actually going to hit home for me in ways too, because I'm still healing. And yeah, I'm connected right here. Okay. This is gonna, it hits home for many people, because right now people aren't wanting things in the school because they feel people to be sexual predators because of their sexuality. But it doesn't matter your sexuality. It doesn't matter your gender. Okay. And the first part of this, it starts off with, who are the predators of child sexual abuse? Fact. Those who molest children look and act just like everyone else. There are people who have or will sexually abuse children in churches, schools, and youth sports leagues. As we know, it's been happening. It's been coming to light. Okay. And some don't like it, because, like I said, it doesn't matter if you go to church or not. They hide everywhere. Abusers can be your neighbors, friends, and family members. People who sexually abuse children can be found in families, schools, churches, recreation centers, youth sports leagues, and any other place children gather. I'm going to start off that when I was younger, this may be a long video. My other one was 3 hours. When I was little, my abusers were mainly family members. There was one that wasn't a family member, and I was babysitting for him. And back around 2011, I found out that he was being charged for molesting his babysitter. And when I wanted to go to court and say, hey, they said, no, you don't need to. We believe you. So mine were mainly family members and people I knew. Significantly, abusers can be, and often are, other children. It's the dominant. Okay? Sometimes we go through it as children and we experiment as children. And anybody says they don't experiment, you have experimented when you were a child with other children. Okay? About 90% of children who are victims of sexual abuse know their abuser. Like I said, I knew every one of mine, and I'm going to get to examples of other people. Okay? Only 10% of sexually abused children are abused by strangers. Okay? So we're fighting something and we don't even know these people. And only 10% of them are abusing our children. And we're pointing fingers. And I know some you just don't want them being taught, but and sometimes it's good for them to understand all aspects of everything. It doesn't mean that they're going to become a homosexual or a transgender. And I said before that it's about not like about the parents being educated. That's who really needs to be educated, especially first of all. And then when the adults are more educated and they have a better understanding, then when the questions are asked by our children, we are more able to talk to them instead of dismissing it. Approximately 30% of children who are sexually abused are abused by a family member. And I've like I said, myself, and I've talked to other people, and I know other people who have been sexually abused by family members. The younger the victim, the more likely it is that the abuser is a family member. Okay. Of those molesting a child under 6, 50% were family members. Family members also accounted for 23% of those abusing children aged 12 to 17. This is a hard pill. And if you're not understanding this and you're not feeling this, it's about going in here. Because I know sometimes when children tell people that it's happening, they don't believe them. Because like I said, it's a hard pill to swallow, especially if they're telling you that it was a family member. And sometimes other people see something that others don't. And they may be right, they may be wrong. But it's about being a little more aware. That maybe somebody may be seeing something you're not. And they, like I said, they may be right about it, they may be wrong. But when people voice a concern, you just be a little more aware. Keep an eye on what have you. Don't be paranoid about it or anything like that. Just be a little more observant. About 60% of children who are sexually abused are abused by people the family trusts. Meaning you figure that they're not going to do it. Well, they wouldn't do that. You got to be lying. Like this part, like what I'm about to read here, a lot of people are in an uproar about what they want to bring into the schools because they figure leave our children alone. Homosexual individuals are no more likely to sexually abuse children than homosexual or than heterosexual individuals. So when we start pointing fingers at people because of their sexuality, it's like you really need to look within because, like I said, it doesn't matter. And no one is more likely than the other. No gender is more likely than the other. Turisarai. Ikriashkan. You okay? Yeah. Oh my gosh. It's going. Yeah. This is a time when everybody needs to heal. Like in my video yesterday when I did the thing about the rainbow, what the rainbow really signifies, the colors. Fact. Not everyone who sexually abuses children is a pedophilia. Child sexual abuse is I'm trying to pronounce the word. Perpetrated. Perpetrated. Can't pronounce that word. Child sexual abuse is perpetrated by a wide range of individuals who with diverse motivations. It is impossible to identify specific characteristics that are common to all those who molest children. Situational offenders tend to offend at times of stress and begin offending later than pedophilic offenders. Pedophilic offenders often start offending at an early age and often have a large number of victims, frequently not family members. %70 of child sex offenders have been 1 and 9 victims, while 20% have 10 to 40 victims. So 20% is 10 to 40 victims, and 70% child sex offenders have between 1 and 9 victims. So the top part there, when it says about pedophilic offenders, they often start at an early age. And they have a large number of victims, and they're not usually family members. Okay. And that I'm going to find out here in a minute. But a sexual predator, pedophilic offenders, it usually happens because it's happened to them. And I'm not making excuses for anyone doing that, whether it's happened to them or not. It just tells me that so many people need healing from their own deep seeds. And when we keep dismissing things and not seeing things for what it is or what's really going on, that's when it becomes a vicious circle. It's about catching something before it escalates And I know sometimes it goes unseen. But it's about actually speaking up, not being afraid. If one person don't believe you, go to the next. And don't lie about it. If it's happening, be truthful that it's happening. Don't make it up because somebody told you to make it up. Because maybe somebody's getting blamed because somebody else is doing it and they're turning the light. They're trying to put it over on someone else so they don't get caught. As many as 40% of children who are sexually abused are abused by older or more powerful children. The younger the child victim, the more likely it is that the predator is a juvenile. Juveniles are the offenders in 43% of sexual assaults of children under the age of 6. Of these offenders, 14% are under age 12. When that's happening, we need to be asking ourselves, did something happen to that person? And like I said, I'm not making excuses. Maybe the person doing it needs help to deal with what happened to them. Juveniles who commit sex offenses against other children are more likely than adult sex offenders to offend in groups, to offend in schools, and to have more male victims and younger victims. I know for some right now that's a hard pill to swallow. It's a matter of, was it one offense? Did it continue on? If it happened to this person, did they get help when it happened to them? Or was it all just pushed aside because nobody wanted to deal with it? It was easier to go unsaid and to deal with than to actually face it and work through it. Not just trying to have the individual trying to work through it, working through it as a family. The number of youth coming to the attention of police for sex offenses increases sharply at age 12 and plates after age 14. Early adolescence is the peak age for youth offenders against younger children. A smaller number of juvenile offenders, 1 out of 8, are younger than age 12. Females consulted 7% of juveniles who commit sex offenses. Most adolescents, sex offenders, are not sexual predators and will not go on to become adult offenders. Most adolescent offenders do not meet the criteria for pedophilia and do not continue to exhibit sexuality predatory behaviors. I get from that is it's dominance, and some of it is exploring each other's bodies, of what we're saying right now with kids feeling that they're this sexuality or that this gender, that gender, or this sexuality or that sexuality. It's about talking with our kids, not being afraid to open up to conversations. And sometimes they like there is an age, but if they ask, it's we can't just ignore it, because they're going to go to somebody else and they may go to the wrong person. So that's why I say, as parents, as adults, we need to be educated ourselves. Adolescent sex offenders are more responsive to treatment than adults. They do not appear to continue to reoffend into adulthood, especially when provided with appropriate treatment. A lot of it is I know when I was younger, I was taken to play therapy. But I wasn't in there long enough, and it kept happening to me. I've grown from that. And I've forgiven. Doesn't mean I forgot what they did. I just hope that they're not doing it to others. And sometimes I did tell. And sometimes I didn't, because times when I did tell, I wasn't believed or I was blamed. Child sexual abuse often takes place under specific, often surprising circumstances. It is helpful to know these circumstances because it allows for the development of strategies to avoid child sexual abuse. 81% of child sexual abuse incidents for all ages occur in one predatory one child circumstances. 6 to 11 years old children are most likely 23% to be abused in multiple victim circumstances. Okay, so 81%, it's usually one predator, one child per, like it's, you guys understand. And then 6 to 11, ages 6 to 11, most likely. And then the 23% to be abused in multiple victim circumstances. Okay, what does that mean? I just had somebody say, what does that mean? Okay, 80%. I'm going to reread it because I'm just going to make sure I understand. Okay, 80%, I'm getting that 80% for all ages occur. It's one-on-one. The predator is doing it to one at a time from age 6 to 11. And what I get from that is usually because if there's somebody older than that, then they may say something, but most likely, but I could be wrong. 23% to be abused in multiple victim circumstances. Yeah, I am. There's interference. Oh, one, yeah. 6 to 11 is usually one person, one predator to one child. And that's 81%. And then the other 23% to be abused in multiple victims, meaning there's more than one victim at a time. So there could be 2, 3 friends and one to the other. Most sexual abuse of children occurs in a residence, typically that of the victim or predator. 84% for children under age 12. That happens in children under the age of 12, most likely. And 71% for children age 12 to 17. Like I said, I was babysitting for someone and it happened in their home. And each time it happened to me, it happened in their home, except for with one person. It was happening in my own home when my parents were in the other room. But they didn't know because I wasn't saying nothing. But when they did find out with regards to this person, they did act on it. And the system is all messed up. I'm going to say this because when they acted on it, the person was charged, but the courts only gave him 2 years probation and he had to see a psychiatrist. And right now, that's what is happening in a lot of cases. They're not getting the time that they should be receiving for the damage they're causing. And in the process, they too need counseling because, like I said, it's a matter of finding out, did it happen to them? And I'm not making no excuse because they need to be responsible for what they do. Especially when they're adults. Because I don't know how long it was going on for, but I remember at least from the time I was 9 and they were 19. And when it happened when I was 13, the guy was 21. He was the guy I was babysitting for. I use my own stuff because, excuse me 1 minute. Oh, crap. Sorry. Okay, sorry about that. Yeah, because seeds start from somewheres. And from what I understand, the person when I was 9, they did it again to someone else in the family. Excuse me 1 minute. Hello. I tried texting you. I'm on the line right now. I'll give you a call back when you're done. I'm on live right now. I'll call you back when you're done. Yeah, I know. What? Okay, I'll call you back when you're done. All right, love you. Hi, sorry about that. Somebody calling me because I got to take him to an appointment tomorrow. Okay. Wow. Okay. Okay, residents, 84% children under the age of 12, and 71% under the age of 12, between 12 and 17. Sexual assaults on children are most likely to occur at 6 a.m. and 12 p.m. and between 3 and 4 p.m. For older children aged 12 to 17, there is almost a peak in assaults in the late evening hours, usually when others are sleeping, or when I'm getting from this, when others are sleeping or others are at work and not home. Maybe they're in school, maybe they're in camps, church, what have you. Because like I said, doesn't matter, they're everywhere. It's everywhere. It happens everywhere. For older children aged, for older children aged 12 to 17, there is also a peak in assaults in the late evening hours because they're more apt to be up late too. 1 in 7 incidences of sexual assault perpetrated by juveniles occur on school days in the afternoon school hours between after school hours between 3 and 7, with a peak from 3 to 4. So I'm getting from that is after they are released from, or after they are out of school and on their way home or getting home. Commercial sexual exploitation and internet sex crimes against children are a small and yet significant part of the overall problem. So it's more likely to be happening directly. In 2006, arrests for online child victim cases contribute only 1.2% of arrests for all sex crimes against children. Maybe that is, yes. Somebody just said that's all they found. There were 6 to 15 arrests for online cases versus 49,345 arrests for all sex crimes against children. 9% of all 10 to 17-year-old received unwanted sexual requests while on the internet. So I said this before. Our kids are in the room. They're on these gadgets. And this is what's happening. That's why I love to, like, I personally said it has its place. But when our children are on a screen, do we really know what's happening? Maybe you do. But maybe others don't. So I'm going to say it, for a child to be able to have this stuff in the room by themselves and not be monitored of what's happening, we need to be, with that aspect, in a lot of, we need to be looking at ourselves and saying, why am I allowing my child to say, I want privacy? What are you doing on there? Or what is happening on there that you're not telling me? What is being said to you? It's like, what's being said to you when your kids are in and they're on a video game and they have these headphones on? What's being said to your kids? What's taking place? I'm not blaming the kids. And sometimes it is other adolescents. And I know that there's a lot of this kids sending dirty pictures to each other. That's got to stop. These machines, you think they're all so great. But we're pointing fingers everywhere else, and we're not seeing what's really going on in some aspects because we're too distracted somewhere else. Over a period of 1 year, 1 in 25 youth received an online sexual solicitation where the solicitor tried to make offline contact. That's a lot. 1 in 25 youth. You think about how many youth we have. And that was in a period of 1 year. Just get it, right now I'm feeling stuff in here, but I'm trying to not allow the emotions to come out. Not because I don't feel anything. And if you are a predator and you're watching and you're laughing, because it's not funny. I said that because I was feeling someone, and I said before, I connect with other people. Because I know that just because I'm not seeing people watching doesn't mean they're not. Tried to make contact make offline contact. So these people are trying to meet with your kids. With our kids. 23% of all 10 to 17-year-olds experience unwanted exposure to pornography. Like I just said, our children are sending pictures and they are receiving pictures. Child sexual abuse makes children more vulnerable to sexual exposure. I became extremely promiscuous. Because there was a part of me that was feeling like give it to them before they take it. And I know others feel the same way. Child sex abuse makes more vulnerable to sex exposure. More than 90% of children who are commercially sexually exploited have been sexually abused in the past. Yep. And we are going to find those ones that are doing it. And it starts with you speaking up, talking with your children. This is like how to prevent it from happening. Don't leave your children going on a friggin' machine, not knowing what's going on there. And in that aspect, we have ourselves to blame for some of it because we're not. Some of us were not paying attention. It's about not paying attention and not listening. So I say our children are not to be just seen and not heard. They need to be heard. And they're vulnerable. And we're supposed to be the ones protecting them. Yeah. About 75% of child pornography victims are living at home when they are photographed. Parents are often responsible. Whoa. Okay, yep. Disket to jeg. I said hurt me, you're only hurting yourself because obviously you're guilty. Abusers often form relationships with potential victims and their families prior to the abuse. This is called grooming. Do we know who's coming into our home? Who we're bringing into our home? Or whose home we're going to or allowing our children to go to? I'm not saying be paranoid. It's where I say just being more attentive. Know what your children are doing. Know where they are. Okay, I had a friend when I was younger, and her father used to take us shopping. He was buying me clothes and high heel shoes, the grooming. And this one day, he took us to his house. Me, the young girl. And I'm going to say it whether this person likes it or not. And my little sister. And my little sister and I, we were there, and my little sister and I, we were all in the room playing, my friend. And her father called her out to the living room. So me and my sister were in there playing. And I come out wondering where she was. And when I come out, her father had her on the couch, molesting her, having intercourse with her. And I come around the corner and I said her name and I said, I want to go home. I'm connected right now. She took us home. And I wouldn't go with them again. And I didn't tell her parents, which I should have. Because she went down a very hard road. And I'm sorry that I didn't tell her parents and stop it from happening. A couple days later, he come to the school asking where I was. And my friends, a group of friends, were walking me home. And he pulled up alongside the car, telling me to get in the car. My friend told him, get the F out of here. I'm pretty sure it kept happening to her. And I'm really sorry. And I hope her father got caught. I was just connected with someone. And that told me that somebody was relating to what I was talking about. In my heart right now, I feel the pressure, I feel the pain. But if it is somebody trying to or wanting to inflict pain on me, bring it on. Because just remember, you hurt me, you're only hurting yourself. Grooming is a process by which an offender gradually draws a victim into a sexual relationship and maintains that relationship in secrecy. At the same time, the offender may also fill roles within the victim's family that make the offender trusted and valued. Hence, it's not a stranger anymore. It's a friend of the family. Grooming behaviors include special attention, outings and gifts, isolating the child from others, filling the child's unmet needs, filling needs and roles within the family, treating the child as if he or she is older. Hence, I was 11 and he was buying me high heel shoes, and her too. Gradually crossing physical boundaries and becoming increasingly intimate, sexual. Use of secrecy, blame, and threats to maintain control. Well, you shouldn't have done that. You shouldn't have wore that. You shouldn't have left the curtains open. Well, you shouldn't have been freaking looking. Disketa telesurue. And if somebody thinks that I'm not very light right now, well, you might want to look up, you might want to see what light is. Because light comes from the heart. It's truth, it's compassion, it's understanding, it's encouragement. It's standing up for others. That's what light is. Whether somebody raises their voice or not, if you're doing it because you're telling someone off for the shit that they've done to other people, what factors increase a child's risk for sexual abuse? While no children is immune, there are children and family characteristics that significantly heighten or lower risk of child sexual abuse. The following risk factors are based on reported and identified cases of abuse. So I'm not just whistling Dixie, I'm giving actual information out there. Not just going by my experience, I'm going by. Family structure is the most important risk factor in child sexual abuse. Children who live with two married biological parents are at low risk for abuse. The risk increases when children live with step parents or a single parent. That's not saying it doesn't happen. It's just lower risk. Children living without either parent, foster children, are 10 times more likely to be sexually abused than children that live with both biological parents. Okay, wait a minute. Our child protection going in and taking children from people and putting them in foster care? This is some of what people are screaming about too. Why are you taking our children and putting them in foster care? Why are they not taking and helping families? Another broken system, a system that never worked. The sins. This is the stuff that we're supposed to be waking up to, not pointing fingers at one another because we disagree with someone. I don't care if you like me. I'm not here to be liked. Like I said, sometimes we need a little tough love to see. Children that live with both biological parents. Children who live with a single parent that has a live-in partner are at the higher risk. They are 20 times more likely to be victims of child sexual abuse than children living with both biological parents. The part of we don't know who we're bringing in our homes. We don't know who are in our homes. It's about not just thinking that it's out there. Now, with regards to a step parent, I'm going to use someone as not as an example because I don't like that word, but I'm going to put their story out there. And I don't use names. Someone confided in me that their parents split up and their mother remarried. And the stepfather was abusing the person and their sibling. And when they went to the mother and told the mother didn't believe them. So this person ended up having to go to live with the grandparent because they were trying to defend the other sibling. And from what I understand, to this day, that mother still never believed them. Not even up until the stepfather passed away. And that's the part of when our children are showing signs and they're being aggressive towards someone. Sometimes they can act in a more like different ways. They can act aggressive or not wanting to be around that person, or sometimes they'll cling to another person because sometimes they feel that somebody's not protecting them. So they're looking to somebody else to protect them. And that's a hard pill to swallow. Blech. Somebody can be mad about this. I don't care. Maybe you're mad because maybe it pertains to you. Sometimes maybe it's because somebody confided something in you and it got dismissed or something. And sometimes people stop talking to one another for that reason. With both biological parents. Saying gender is also a major factor in sexual abuse. Females are fewer times more likely to be abused than males. Females are 5 times more likely to be abused than males. Okay, I did read that right, but it didn't come out like it didn't seem to me like I read it right. But it's mainly females. They're 5 times more likely to be abused. The age of the male being abused also plays a part. 8% of victims aged 12 to 17 are males. 26% of victims under the age of 18 or under the age of 12 are males. So that's where I say it doesn't matter what gender you go by, it happens. Only it happens more frequently in females. But it's saying it does. And I like, same as abuse. Like I went one time to a place for abused victims. And they were sitting there. And they were having a meeting and they were talking about like abuse on women and what have you. And I said, I piped up because I'm not like, I know it happens to both. So I said like, okay, like we got places for women to go. But what about the men who are being abused and the disdain? And I understand that I was in there with women who were being abused, but it's a matter of looking at both sides and seeing that, okay, it's like, and the response that I got was disdain and men don't come forward. Well, that's why men don't come forward. Because there's a stigmata. And this is what's happening in protests. Somewhat of the stigmata that is put on things. That the systems put on it to make it seem like it's bad and it's dirty because they play both sides. This is where they're talking about the risks. Age is a significant factor in sexual abuse. While there is risk for children of all ages, children are most vulnerable to abuse between the ages of 7 and 13. Right where I was. And where my friend was. And I know of somebody else that had someone at the age of, they were 19 or 20. And they had sex with them and they were 12. And then the 12-year-old got blamed. And that's where we really need to look at things. And that's where it's set up there about the blame and the shame that's put on the victim. But we don't have to remain a victim. We can grow from it. We can get through it. I know, because I have. How? I just had somebody say how. I did a lot of going within. I did a lot of screaming. I still do it sometimes because there's still parts of me that's working through stuff. I'm working through my own sexuality. I'm working through my own stuff. And it's coming and saying like, hey, you know, I'm not a victim. I'm a survivor. I'm not saying it's easy, because it's just, I listen to frequencies all the time, and they actually help me to go within myself and get right down to my own seed. And that's how I'm able to say like, hey, you know, I like forgive these people, but I didn't forget it. And I pray to God that they haven't done it to anyone else. And if they are doing it to anyone else, you will be caught. Ages of 7 to 13. The median age for reported abuse is 9 years old. I was 9. And you know, to this day, I still remember what went on the night that this person was raping me. I don't hold it with me because I fought. And he even told me, don't say anything or else. I did tell a couple people, and it got held for a year because I asked them not to tell anyone. But then one day somebody decided that they were going to say something. And it had been happening for a year after that, under the table, like I said. But I'm very thankful for the person who did come forward and say something. And from what I understand, this person that did it to me was doing it to them. And I'm not sure if they told anyone that it was happening to them too or not. And then I was told recently that this person went to them and asked them to have sex with them. I'm calling you all out. I'm calling out the ones that are hurting people, hurting children. 9 years old. However, more than 20% of children are sexually abused before the age of 8. Race and ethnicity are an important factor in identified sexual abuse. African American children have almost twice the risk of sexual abuse than white children. Children of Hispanic ethnicity have a slightly greater risk than non-Hispanic white children. These are actually hard pills to chew. And I understand a lot of what's happening. And the systems that are the problems. Because our justice system is broken. I'm not talking about people out, like the people out looking for the defenders. I'm talking about when it goes to court. Someone who drinks and drives is more likely to go to jail than someone who molests a child or rapes a child, causes harm to a child. That's a broken system. The risk for sexual abuse is tripled for children whose parents are not in the labor force. Children in low socioeconomics, socioeconomic status, households are 3 times as likely to be identified as a victim of child abuse. Sorry, I have to, I'm looking up the word. Okay. Some of you may know what that word is, but so that I know what I'm looking at, I'm going to look up the word. I might look up the word. Oh, there we go. Right now, all the gadgets and stuff like that are a little messed up because now it's saying, really? Wow. It doesn't want me to do anything. So let's try this again. Okay, the word I'm trying to say is children is low. Children in low. The word, it means systematic. No. Relating to or concerned with the interaction of social and economic factors. Okay, that's what the word it means. That status. Okay, that's what the word means, and it's children in low. What that said, status households are 3 times as likely to be identified as a victim of child abuse. Okay, so economic meaning. Okay, I guess more your poverty. Your yeah. Children who live in rural areas are almost 2 times more likely to be identified as victims of child sexual abuse. Royal to me is more country. Yep. That's where I was living. Children who witness or are the victim of other crimes are significantly more likely to be sexually abused. Her father, my friend's father, was trying to get at me. I have another friend, and her father, I was there one night, and her father took me in another room and started trying to do stuff. And I didn't want to, I don't want to be like, it got different after that. Because I used to like the man. And then there was stuff on a computer that we bought, and it was like, why didn't we report it? Because I didn't even look. It was just like, but then he was being charged, whether anything comes of it or not, I don't know. I'm no longer connected with them. Children, okay, who witness sexual, okay. Family and equidistant. Some words I can't pronounce, like I said before. Child sexual abuse predators have reported that they look for specific characteristics in the children they choose to abuse. Predators report that they look for passive, quiet, troubled, lonely children from single parent or broken homes. Predators frequently seek out children who are particularly trusting, find new and work proactivity to establish a trusting relationship before abusing them. Not infrequently, this extends to establishing a trusting relationship with the victims' families as well. What are the immediate consequences of child sexual abuse. Emotional and mental health problems are often the first consequence and sign of a child's sexual abuse. Children who are sexually abused are at significantly greater risk for later post-traumatic stress and other anxiety symptoms, depression, and suicide attempts. Been there, and I know others have been too. These psychological problems can lead to significant disruptions in normal development and often have a lasting impact, leading to dysfunction and distress well into adulthood. And like they said, it's harder to heal when you become as you become older. Behavior problems, including physical aggression, non-compliance, and oppositionally occur frequently among sexually abused children and adolescents. Oppositionality. I'm going to work that word up. I hope you guys are bearing with me. Oh, crap. Because, like I said, I go back and I watch my videos because I'm learning things too. Okay, the word I'm trying to pronounce occur frequently among sexually abused children and adolescents. That word is saying that it means the refusal to conform to the ordinary requirements of authority and a willful contrariness is called oppositionally and manifests itself during childhood within behaviors such as stubbornness, argumentativeness, tantrums, non-compliance, and defiance. That's what that means. So it's looking at our children, watching the behaviors. Because it's all telling us something. It's not about a kid being spoiled or just being a little brat like some people say. And it's not ADHD or like that. Child sexual abuse has been linked to higher levels of risk behaviors. So if somebody's saying that they're seeing something because they've experienced it themselves, sometimes that's when we really need to be listening. Because like I said, they may be seeing something and noticing something that you're not. Because of what other stuff says. Sexual behavior problems and over-sexualized behavior are a very common sequence of child sexual abuse. Age inappropriate behavior can be a very important and telling sign that abuse is occurring. Children who have been sexually abused have over 3 times as many sexual behavior problems as children who have not been sexually abused. Victims of child sexual abuse are more likely to be sexually promiscuous. Like I said, I became promiscuous. Academic problems in childhood are a common symptom of sexual abuse. That's fact, it says. Sexually abused children tend to perform lower on psychosomatic tests measuring cognitive ability, academic achievement, and memory assessments when compared to same-age, non-sexually abused cohorts. Studies indicate that sexual abuse exposure among children and adolescents is associated with high school absentee rates, more grade retention 1, increased need for special education services, and difficulty with school adaptation. Okay, so when our kids are not private, that's what we need to be looking at, not allowing a doctor say, oh, your kid has this disability, this disorder, or that disorder, this mental health issue, that mental health issue. Okay? They say, and then they give you, here, to give your kid this pill. It's not working because something's going on. And people cannot like me right now and not talk to me. I don't care. If I say something, I'm not going to say that, no, I don't think it anymore, or yes, if I don't know, the same as nobody else would. It's awareness. Be more attentive, pay a little more attention. I'm going to use a past friend of mine. They told me about when they were younger. Their grandfather used to take them out behind the barn. Molesting them, touching them, doing things to them. But their parents didn't believe them. We couldn't be doing that. That's what happens. No, they can't be. They're not doing that. You're lying. Diz que tutoria saroi, mãe. Screwing. Causes a lot of problems for them. The same as they tell you, your kid is ADHD, your kid is this, your kid is that. We'll find out what's been happening. Because it doesn't matter what age they are. %39 of 7 to 12-year-old girls with a history of child sexual abuse had academic difficulties. I quit grade 8. Later went to college and took a couple of university courses. But that was after I was growing up and healing. You can't pay. You can't pay attention. There's like you scream. I used to get angry with my mom. I even pushed a table up against her. It's because what happens is we take it out on the people that we feel are supposed to be protecting us. Because we don't know any other way. It's a hard pill to swallow. Seven to 12-year-old girls with a history of child sexual abuse were 50 times more likely to display cognitive ability below the 25th percentile. 26% of 7 to 12-year-old girls with a history of child sexual abuse reported that their grades dropped after they were abused, and 48% had below average grades. A history of child sexual abuse significantly increased the chance of dropping out of school. Sound familiar? Fact: substance abuse problems beginning in childhood or adolescence are some of the most common consequences of child sexual abuse. I started, first time I drank, I was 14. And then when I turned 15, I started drinking a lot. Didn't use drugs, but drinking was my choice. And then as I got older, I would sometimes use prescription drugs. Anything to numb the pain. A number of studies have found that adolescents with a history of child sexual abuse demonstrate a 3-time, 4-fold increase in rates of substance abuse dependence. Addiction. Do you have, are you one that has an addiction? Do you know someone who has an addiction? Maybe that's where it all started. Drug abuse is more common than alcohol abuse for adolescent children, sexual abuse victims. I know of someone that when they were like 2 or 3, someone's friend was at the house and they molested the 2-year-old child. And from my understanding, the child never got help. And that hits home when you hear about it being so young. And if it just gets pushed off and never dealt with, then you know how the person becomes. And when you go through it yourself, or you've been through it yourself, you can understand that person. And sometimes we get angry at other people because it's like you're bringing up wounds. Well, is it something that never got addressed, and it's why we are the way we are? I'm feeling my heart again. If you're angry with me, I understand. But like I said, you hurt me, you're only hurting yourself. It's part of the healing process. And I know it's not easy. And it becomes a healing process for both. If each one's looking within themselves of it happening and the one that did it. Told you this is a hard topic. It's a hard pill to chew or swallow. And if I'm feeling in the heart, it's telling me that someone can relate to it. Okay. Drug abuse is more common than alcohol abuse for adolescents, sexual abuse victims. Age of onset for non-experimental drug use was 14.4 years old for victims, compared to 15.1 years old for non-victimized use. Adolescents were 2 to 3 times more likely to have an alcohol use dependency problem than non-victims. Delinquency and crime, often stemming from substance abuse, are more prevalent in adolescents with a history of child sexual abuse. Adolescents who were sexually abused have a 3 to 5-fold risk of delinquency. Behavior problems, including physical aggression, non-compliance, and that oppositionally, like your level of family income, poverty, or ethnic background, like the discriminatory aspects of what they think you are less than, occur frequently among sexually abused children and adolescents. These emotionally and behavioral difficulties can lead to delinquency poor school performance, and dropping out of school. Adolescents that reported victimization, sexual abuse, or physical abuse were more likely to be arrested than their non-abused peers. Sexually abused children were nearly twice as likely to run away from home. I ran from home, and I know others ran from home. In my case, it was because I didn't want to be around my abuser. Wasn't in my family, it wasn't my immediate family, but it was somebody who lived close by. The risk of teen pregnancy is much higher for girls with a history of sexual abuse. The increased risk for pregnancy at a young age is likely due to over-sexualized behavior, another common consequence of child sexual abuse. Yep. I became pregnant at 14 and a half. It was my first time having willing sex. 13 was when it was not so willing. The risk of teen pregnancy is much higher. Okay, is much higher sexual abuse. The increased risk for pregnancy at a young age is likely due to over-sexualized behavior, another common consequence. Okay, girls who are sexually abused are 2.2 times as likely as non-abused peers to become teen mothers. 45% of pregnant teens reported a history of child sexual abuse. Males who are sexually abused are more likely than their non-sexual abused peers to impregnate a teen. In fact, several studies indicate that the sexual abuse of boys is a stronger risk factor for teen pregnancy than the sexual abuse of girls. Most sexual abuse incidents reported by pregnant teens occurred well before the incident that resulted in pregnancy. Only 11 to 13% of pregnant girls with a history of child sexual abuse reported that they had become pregnant as a direct result of this abuse. I didn't get pregnant by my abuser, but they were classing it as statutory rape because he was 18 and I was only 14 and a half. He didn't get charged because I said I'd run away if they charged him, because I liked the guy. What are the long-term consequences of child sexual abuse? Child sexual abuse was lasting consequences for victims, has lasting long-term consequences of child sexual abuse has lasting consequences for victims. The real tragedy is that it robs children of their potential, setting into motion a chain of events and decisions that affect them throughout their lives. Okay, I know someone else who informed me that when they were younger, they were hitchhiking, and a man picked them up, and they were sitting there, and all of a sudden the man started touching them. And I'm proud of them because there was a bottle in the car and they hit the person with the bottle and they got out of the car and ran. And this same person had other difficulties, well, like difficulties in school, authority, problems at home, ran away from home. Fact, substance abuse problems are a common consequence for adult survivors of child sexual abuse. This person, well, everyone I know that it's happened to, they've become fairly heavy drinkers, drug users, what have you, promiscuous. Said I was all of that. So I ended up putting myself in very bad positions, and I kept going down that path. Until until God, the universe, the source, what have you, mother, father, until they gave me the kick in the ass that I needed. But the worst part about it is I had to die in order to learn that lesson. Some people may not believe it because I wasn't at a hospital. I was home on my couch. I got teary because somebody was hearing. So I'm can only hazard to guess that they know exactly what I'm talking about. Some people even die from alcohol poisoning, from drug overdoses. And if you live through it, that's God giving you the second chance and saying, hey, I'm kicking you in the ass. It's time to wake up. Because like I say many times, if I can do it, you can do it. Because I tried to take my life a number of times. And that's another part of what happens. You just want out. You don't want to deal with life anymore. And you feel alone, yes. But know that you're not alone. There are other people out there. And we're here to be helping each other. Whether it be watching somebody on a video, sometimes going to groups can help, but sometimes it's always easier to talk to that person or persons that have gotten through it. And who have moved forward. I do know that this video is a long video, but the topics that I've been picking, they're important topics. Female adult survivors of child sexual abuse are nearly 3 times more likely to report substance use problems, 40.5% versus 14% in general public. Wow. That's almost 3 times more. Male adult CSA victims, child sexual abuse victims, are 2.6 times more likely to report substance use problems, 65% versus 25% in general population. So male victims are more likely to become substance abusers. That's more than half. It's a system that's not helping because there's a stigmata. They label people with mental health disorders. And the real mental health seed showing a lot of it here. It's due to abuse. And like I said, the tough part, the hard part of it is it can happen right from the day the child is born. So we wonder why our children are the way they are. We may want to have a closer look. Because people are starting to heal now. And the ones that aren't, it's usually because they're afraid of the stigma. We're being told to put our kids on medication. When we should be asking ourselves, has anything happened to my child? Mental health problems are a common long-term consequence of child sexual abuse. Adult women who were sexually abused as a child are more than twice as likely to suffer from depression as a woman who were not sexually abused. Adults with a history of child sexual abuse are more than twice as likely to report a suicide attempt. Females who are sexually abused are 3 times more likely to develop psychiatric disorders than females who are not sexually abused. Among male survivors, more than 70% seek psychological treatment for issues such as substance abuse, suicidal thoughts, and attempted suicide. This is what we're being distracted from, because it's too busy keeping us fighting with one another. Because, like I said, it becomes a vicious circle. And it usually starts in childhood. And like I said, I don't care if you don't like me or what I'm saying. And it's not about attention. It's bringing attention and awareness to what's really going on with our children. Sit todo ahead. Obesity and eating disorders are more common in women who have a history of child sexual abuse. 24-year-old women who were sexually abused as children were 4 times more likely than their non-abused peers to be diagnosed with an eating disorder. Well, when I was 16, they had to rush me to the hospital because I wasn't eating. And they were telling my parents I was anorexic, bulimia. Because I was. Bulimia. If I ate, I'd go throw up. But see, sometimes we don't want to look at that stuff. I went to therapy. Never helped. Because all they wanted to do was give me a pill and label me. Like I said, you got to wear that for the rest of your life. So they thinking you don't have to. You should never have been wearing it in the first place. Because it's about listening. But not only listening with your ears, but feeling and hearing with your heart. And seeing. Also with your heart. Middle-aged women who were sexually abused as children were twice as likely to be obese when compared with their non-abused peers. Child sexual abuse is also associated with physical health problems in adulthood. It is theorized that this is a consequence of the substance abuse, mental health issues, and other consequences that survivors of child sexual abuse face. What I'm seeing is that most, if not all, medical illnesses and conditions start with child abuse. That's a hard pill to swallow. But you're given a pill. And you're giving a label. I know I went in one time to a psychiatrist and asked, like, I need to see a psychiatrist just to talk, to get through something. Well, I have to send you to a psychiatrist because we have to get you diagnosed first before I can even see you. Because you have to have moderate mental health issue to be seen. So you can't have a mild, like just that you need somebody to talk to. It's got to be a moderate. We have to let it go until it escalates to the point where, oh, well, we're going to make money. But see, if the real issue at hand, the real seed was helped to heal and grow properly, I guess this is what's telling us. We can have more than what we've got because we become more than what we are. And I now understand that. It's the healing aspect of it. We're not healing because the tools aren't being taught. They're not being taught properly. They're not teaching us how. It's finding out the original seed when it started to grow. Generally, adult victims of child sexual abuse have higher rates of health care utilization and report significantly more health complaints compared to adults without a child sexual abuse history. This is true for both self-reported doctor's visits and objective examination of medical records. They had in my medical records that I tried to commit suicide at the age of 14. I didn't. When I was 16, I took like 14 Advil. And then I went and told my mom. And then when I was 17, that's when I did the real overdose the first time. I'm telling my experiences so others can understand that you're not alone. Because we feel like we're alone. And it's about finding the people who have overcome it. To help you overcome it. And the older we get, the harder it can be. These health problems represent a burden both to the survivor and the healthcare system. And see, the thing is, I said before, in 1928, they created what they called the Sexual Sterilization Act, saying we're a burden. But it's only a burden because they're not getting to the seed. They're not doing what needs to be done in order to help the healthcare system by getting to the seed, to the root of the problem. And the root of the problem is child sexual abuse, child abuse. That's the real problem. It's the creator of most mental and physical health problems. And it's saying it right here. Mental health awareness. But it's really child sexual abuse, child abuse awareness. It's up to us as mothers, fathers, brothers, sisters, grandparents, aunts, uncles, to be aware and to stop it. Before the real damage starts. Stop it before it even starts. See it. Adult survivors of child sexual abuse are at greater risk of a wide range of conditions that are non-life-threatening and are potentially psychosomatic in nature. These include fibromyalgia, severe menstrual syndrome, chronic headaches, irritable bowel syndrome, and a wide range of productive and sexual health complaints, including excessive bleeding, hemorrhage, amenorrhea, anemia? No, sorry, AMERNORHEA. I really, like, if you guys made it this far and you guys are actually like taking the time to watch this, I really appreciate you bearing with me because, like I said, I'm learning a lot of this too. And right now there's a lot of healing going on and our bodies are aching. Oh, okay. The absence of a menstruation during the reproductive years of a woman's life, psychological states of amenorrhea are seen most commonly during pregnancy and lactation, breastfeeding. Okay. So that word, that, increased excessive bleeding, and that, not bleeding, or what have you, pain during intercourse, and menstrual irregularity. Okay. I know what it's like to have pain because somebody stopped having sex with me because I had pain. And that causes and can cause a lot of strain on relationships. Not only do survivors of child sexual abuse have more minor health conditions, they are at greater risk for more serious conditions as well. Adults with a history of child sexual abuse are 30 times more likely than their non-abused peers to have a serious medical condition such as diabetes, cancer, heart problems, stroke, or hypertension. Wow. Whew. Right? Think about it. What's going on? That's what we really need to be looking at. Male sexual abuse survivors have twice the HIV infection rate of non-abused males. In a study of HIV infected 12 to 20-year-olds, 41% reported sexual abuse history. We see so many things, and it's keeping us distracted. Because we're believing these people that tell us this. And we're not listening. To our children. That's where it starts. And just yesterday, I did a video about leadership and what's happening. We're being distracted from what we really need to be looking at. The root of it all. You may know someone. You may have experienced it yourself. And you may be the one doing it. And maybe it's because you experienced it yourself. But in all actuality, you're the one in control of yourself. When you know right from wrong, when you know what's going on, it's getting the guidance, it's getting the help for yourself. And when we get the help for ourselves, we're not only helping ourselves, but we're helping others. This is a big, it's like, oof. It's not about revenge. It's justice. But it's about helping others to heal. And sometimes it goes so far that it makes it extremely difficult to heal. But if you can get to that seed, to the root, then that's how it's going to heal. It's not about holding on to the anger. It's about finding out where it originally stemmed from. And as I said before, I'm very sorry to people that I've ever hurt in any way. And I'm still growing. It is hard to get past this. Adult survivors of child sexual abuse are more likely to become involved in crime, both as a predator and as a victim. This is likely a product of a higher risk for substance abuse problems and associated lifestyle factors. Adult survivors are more than twice as likely to be arrested for a property offense than their non-abused peers, 9.3% versus 4.4%. As adults, child sex abuse victims were almost twice as likely to be arrested for a violent offense as the general population, 20.4% versus 10.7%. Males who have been sexually abused are more likely to victimize others. Si toto je sraj, que toto je šklan. Note, although survivors of child sexual abuse are negatively impacted as a whole, it is important to realize that many individual survivors do not suffer these consequences. Child sexual abuse does not necessarily sentence a victim to any impaired life. It's about moving forward. Empowering yourself and not being the victim anymore, not being the aggressor, the victim. Child sexual abuse has long-lasting consequences for societies. When the prevalence of child sexual abuse is combined with its economic burden, the results are staggering. Child sexual abuse is a public health problem of enormous consequence. The CDC recently estimated the lifetime burden of a new substituted of non-fatal child maltreatment to $210,012 per victim. This includes immediate costs, as well as loss of productivity and increased healthcare costs in adulthood. Instead of people dying because they're said to be a burden on a healthcare system, why not help them with the true pandemic? Because child abuse, whether it be physical or sexual, is the true pandemic. It's time. Not people dying or being killed, but people being able to heal. Stop the vicious circle. Stop it before it even starts. By getting to the seed. I'm growing. I'm facing my darkness. And it can fucking hurt sometimes, excuse my French, but c'est tout ça. Well, this estimate is for all forms of child maltreatment. There is evidence that the consequences of child sexual abuse are equal or greater than the consequences of other forms of child maltreatment. This estimate is comparable to that of many other high-profile public health problems, indicating the impact and seriousness of the issue of child maltreatment. For example, the lifetime costs of a stroke per person were estimated at $159,846. 2010 dollars. The total lifetime costs associated with type 2 diabetes were estimated between $181,000 and $253,000, 2010 dollars per case. That was in 2010 dollars per case. My question is, well, we already know the answer. He's going to say, my question is, knowing all this, why are they not helping people heal from it? Right? It's because there's no money in it. He says it right here. But we're all distracted, fighting each other over what we don't want in our schools. And we're not seeing the true pandemic, the true epidemic, the true disease. I'm not saying that the person is a disease. The abuse is a disease. A system that does not help, but inflicts more pain and suffering. Yeah. We are not broken, the system is. We are just being held down by the system. Stop allowing yourselves to be distracted. We're fighting it to stop it, but it stops with us first. It stops with the stigmatas. kind of like a branding. Si todo eso hay. Reported child sexual abuse. Reporting child sexual abuse. What are the reporting rates for child sexual abuse? Fact: only about a third of child sexual abuse incidents, cases, are identified, and even fewer are reported. Researchers estimate that 38% of child victims disclose the fact that they have been sexually abused. Of these, 40% tell a close friend rather than an adult or an authority. I know somebody else who they confided in me years later when I was bringing something up to light to others. They contacted me and told me that somebody had, when they were 15, somebody had taken them out an old dirt road. They were supposed to be going to get something, and they took them out this old dirt road. And they kept sexually tormenting them for about 2 or more hours and wouldn't take them home. From what I understand, this person told a friend. And I don't believe the friend believed them. And they never did tell the person they were with. And I totally understand why. Si todo eso hay. Because this same person hurt me in a lot of ways. But it's about moving forward from it and just praying to God that they don't do it to other people. Because like I said, maybe it was happening to them. Of these 40%, of these 40% tell a close friend rather than an adult authority. These friend-to-friend disclosures do not always result in reports. This means that the vast majority of child sexual abuse incidents are never reported to authorities, though research suggests that disclosure rates to authorities may be increasing. Child Protective Service agencies investigate about 55% of child sexual abuse incidences reported to them. The rest are screened out for lack of adequate information or for other reasons. A system. Of these reports investigated, only a portion meets the criteria for substantiated. Yeah, substantiated. Child Protective Services service agencies investigate only 20% of the incidents children identified and reported by school personnel. A system that never worked. School personnel identified 52% of all identified child abuse cases classified as causing harm to the child more than any other profession or organizational type, including Child Protective Service Agency and the police. Let's get going. Cup. 2/3 of teachers do not receive specific training in preventing, recognizing, or responding to child sexual abuse in either their college coursework or as part of their professional development. Why? "24% of school personnel have never received any oral or written guidelines on the mandated reporting requirements of their state. As many as 25% of child sexual abuse incidences identified by professionals not working specifically in child protection services. As many as 25% of child sexual abuse incidences identified by professionals not working specifically in child protection services are not reported." Whoa. Why? Despite a mandated reporting law that requires it. I had a psychologist tell my doctor that I went to friggin' Alberta to get a test done. Why are they not reporting sexual abuse? It's not all of them. But are they just doing their job of what they're told to do? And if you are, you might want to stop doing that and do what's right and ethical. Yeah. Oh my God, my body. People can have disdain for me. I really don't care. Because it's a system that does. As many as 25% of child abuse. Oh, I read that. Sorry. Reporting law. That requires it. Fact. False reports of child sexual abuse made by children are rare. It is estimated that only 4 to 8% of child sexual abuse reports are fabricated. Most of the fabricated reports are made by adults involved in custody disputes or by adolescents. How many children sexually abused reports result in arrests? Fact. A large number of those arrested for child sexual assault are convicted and serve time in prison or jail. While the rate of conviction is high, arrests are made in only 29% of child sexual abuse cases and are 32% more likely to be made in incidents involving older children. For children under 6, only 19% of sexually abused incidents results in arrest. What system? You okay? Oh my gosh! Whoosh, gotta get by. Keep going. Of those charged, about 80% of rape offenders, including rapists of adults, are convicted. An estimate 48% of rape defendants, including rapes of adults, were released from detention prior to the disposition of their case. Only defendants charged with murder had a lower rate of release, 24%, than those for whom rape charges were ending. About 14% of those convicted of rape were convicted in a jury trial, but for most defendants, 82% convictions followed a guilty plea. The remaining 4% were convicted following a bench trial. Overall, 80% of convicted rapists, including rapists of adults, were incarcerated, and about 13% received a sentence to probation supervision in the community. It's changed and it's better, but how long are they staying, and are they getting help for themselves? Or are they going out and reoffending? Because the one that did it to me when I was 13, he continued to reoffend. About pleaded guilty. The remaining 4%, overall 80 rapists in community. For convicted rapists sentenced to prison, not local jails, the average term imposed was just under 14 years. An estimate 2% of convicted rapists received a term of life imprisonment. Okay. For each convicted rape offender in a prison or jail, there are nearly 3 rape offenders under probation or parole supervision in the community. Research shows that child sexual abuse predators reoffend at a lower rate than other types of offenders, including those convicted of rape. Rapists had a lower rate of rearrest for a new felony and a lower rate of rearrest for a violent felony than most categories of probationaries with convictions for violence. Released rapists were found to be 10.5 times as likely to non-rapists to be rearrested for rape. Research suggests that incest offenders reoffended at approximately half the rate of acquaintance child molesters. What do I do if I suspect or discover child sexual abuse? Fact. Signs that a child is being sexually abused are often present, but they are often indistinguishable from other signs of childhood stress, distress, or trauma. Direct physical signs of child sexual abuse are not common. However, when physical signs are present, they may include bruising, bleeding, redness, and bumps, or scabs around the mouth, genitals, or anals, urinary tract infections, sexually transmitted diseases, an abnormal vaginal or penile discharge are also warning signs. Child sexual abuse victims often exhibit indirect physical signs such as anxiety, chronic stomach pain, and headaches. Emotional and behavioral signals are common among sexually abused children. Some of these are too perfect. Some of these are too perfect behavior, withdrawal, fear, depression, unexplained anger, and rebellion. Some common consequences of trauma include nightmares, bedwetting, failing grades, cruelty to animals, bullying, being bullied, fire setting, running away, and self-harm of any kind. One of the most telling signs that sexual abuse is occurring is sexual behavior and language that is not age appropriate, as use of alcohol or drugs at an early age can be a sign of trauma, such as child sexual abuse. Note, child sexual abuse victims may exhibit a wide range of immediate reactions, both in magnitude and form. Resilient children may not suffer serious consequences, whereas other children with the same experience may be highly traumatized. Some victims do not display emotional problems or any other immediate symptoms in response to the abuse. Yeah. Fact. Child sexual abuse reports should be made to the state's Child Protective Service Agency, the police, or both for more information. And that's what that says. I've already been 3 hours and 4 minutes, kind of like yesterday. So I'm going to get the colors of the rainbow. There we go. I'm going to say it again, okay? Because in the colors of the rainbow, it included the rainbow they say they use for gay pride, or what have you, or pride. Okay. To me, gay means happy to be who you are, whether sexuality. But the colors include pink to represent sexuality. They took that out. Why did they take pink out? Because sexuality, they think sexuality is a bad thing, but it's like, I'm not going to get into things, but it has to do with represents sexuality, the healing. Red for healing, yellow for sun, green for serenity with nature, turquoise for art, indigo for harmony, and violet for spirit. Spirit is the crown chakra, the connection. Okay. That to me was a hard pill, because I learned a lot of stuff that I didn't know. But it's also a lot of stuff that I knew, and I have expressed it many times. It's about being educated. And right now, we're not being educated for the most part. So, like I said, we're distracted by all this other stuff and the real pandemic. It comes down to the child abuse, sexual and physical, and that's where it starts. The system needs to be working for the people, and right now, in a lot of ways, it's not, because it's not getting to the root and stopping the vicious circle, helping people heal, seeing it before it even gets worse or even starts. Paying attention and listening to our children. Not saying or feeling like you're to be seen and not heard, and thinking our children lie all the time. Because our children are always telling us something, whether it be verbal, emotional, or physical signs. It's the closing card. Nothing can take the place of persistence. Keep going. Talent will not. Education will not. Genius will not. Persistence and determination alone are omnipotent. Crap. Omnipotent? I'm going to look up the meaning of that word. I know it's like, because I said, I'm not the best at spelling. Persistence and determination alone are having unlimited power, able to do anything. God is described as omnipotent. Okay, so it's saying, because I'm not going to bring stuff into it, but it's saying that it's within you, spirit. So I say, I'm Spirit Mother, and this channel is Spirit Mother teachings of going within. And I bring the hard stuff that some people, they just don't want to talk about or confront because of the backlash they may get. So I say, some may say that I'm not very spiritual. But like I say in my description, ask yourself, really, what is spirituality? It's about the enlightenment. With that being all said, I hope this was very informative and it brings awareness to the true pandemic. And we keep going. Persistence, the determination, the ultimate power. And God is love. Love is God. Love is the infinite energy. So I'm sending you all much love, light, many blessings. Most importantly, very good health to anyone and everyone wanting, willing, ready to receive and accept. I want you all to be big, bold, brave. Most importantly, be yourself, not who somebody says you are or wants you to be. Be kind to yourself. Be kind to others. Keep going. Never give up. And know that you are strong. And we're in this together and we can get through it together. It's one step at a time in forward motion. I love you all. I hope you all had a great weekend and that you have a beautiful Monday. Love you.